Thanks, everybody. We have a lot of slides to get through. I usually do this talk in an hour and 40 minutes or so. Today, we're going to compress it into 20. Joking. My assistant is actually my boss, but I really wanted to say that. My boss, John's at the back of the room. He's got, if you give him your business card after the talk, we can send you a copy of the deck. I think you can also download it here. I say that not because it's such an awesome deck, but there's a lot of data in it, and there's a couple case studies, and I won't have time to really drill into too much detail, but you can download the deck and get access to it. And also feel free to give me an email, and I can answer questions if you've got them. So yes, as Oliver kindly said, I'm Liz, I'm at Fuse, I'm the Executive Vice President there. We started as a publisher, a mobile game publisher. We put out lots of top 10 games and then shifted our focus to take our platform that we developed that allowed publishers to deliver player-centric monetization and deliver that to the mobile game industry. It's a free platform, so you can check it out after the talk. Today we have roughly 600 million installs with our data, with our tech, so we have a lot of data, and some of the cases that I'm going to take you through today really highlight some of that data and how you can leverage the tools in the industry today to be able to generate as much revenue as you can from every single install. And that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about player-centric monetization. Before we get started, I want to just flow through some of the fundamentals of freemium really quickly. In freemium, there's really only two ways to make money. That's through IAP and through ads. And in order to maximize revenue for your games, you really have to get both of those things right. So we like to encourage our publishers to think of their game as a store. So it's not just an entertainment vehicle, but it's really about being a good retailer. And retailers have got to be good at a number of things to be able to get it right. The first is on smart merchandising, so taking the opportunity to showcase the goods. A lot of the time, stores are one of the last things that get developed in a game, and they're buried, and they're hard to get to, and they're hard to navigate, and it's hard to figure out what you really need at that point in the game to be able to progress further in the game. Good retailers create good store experiences, which is really about smart merchandising. Sales and promotions, so highlighting opportunities to buy the right thing at the right time, making customers feel excited about what they've bought and showing them the value of what they've bought and how it can be used to further progress or to win and have moments to celebrate in the game, and really about making that customer feel good about what they purchased through sales and promotions. The third tip is really around limited quantity and scarcity. I don't know how many of you are good shoppers. I'm an excellent shopper. You can ask my husband. But when I go into a shop and something, there's 2 pairs of shoes left, I feel this anxiety. I want to buy it. We can do that same kind of anxiety about the shoes. I see you smiling, We can create that same kind of anxiety in a game where you show a countdown timer or limited number of items available. And creating that fear of losing out or missing out or even losing the game is a great way to tap into the psychology of players and get them to buy. So to get the store experience right, you need to do 3 things: show a clear benefit, create fair pricing and good value, and trigger that purchase at the right time, and ultimately get it right for each player. So really thinking about individuality. So that captures the IAP side. How about the ad side? Everybody hates ads, right? We hear this a lot from publishers. What everybody really hates are misplaced ads that aren't relevant to them, that interrupt the flow of the game, and they have no real benefit. So getting ads right is really important. If you get ads wrong, you've really wasted a great opportunity to generate revenue from your ad space. So ads done right in the right context can generate a lot of money, but that means putting ads in the right places throughout your game. So finding out where they flow well with that player experience. Ads done right is all about targeting. So if you think about put your game aside, you think about magazines. If you're reading a sports magazine, those ads are targeted to sports enthusiasts. That makes a lot of sense. If I'm reading a fashion magazine, my ads make a lot of sense to me. They're targeted at my kind of consumer behavior. And what we've learned about advertisers is they spend millions and millions of dollars every single day by being able to target the right ad to the right player. So if you can match up and find that right ad partner that can be able to put relevant ads in front of your players, you're going to make a lot more money and keep your players around more because you're showing them something relevant. Not going to talk too much about rewarded ads. I think they've been covered off fairly well today, but rewarded ads are wonderful because they really represent a win-win for both the player and the publisher. For the player, they get something of value in exchange for watching an ad. And really, there's endless opportunities for publishers to include rewarded ads. I have a couple quick notes. Again, happy to share these with you. But really what the point we wanted to make is through the data that we've collected around rewarded ads, what we're seeing is that when you give away some type of reward in a game, we're actually seeing higher conversion later on those players, and we're seeing them stay engaged longer in the games. So it's actually a little bit, well, we hate to say it, but it's a little bit like a gateway drug. Gets the player a little bit more excited and engaged in the game, and they stay longer and spend more. Some of the challenges, I mean, even if you get everything right in terms of ads and IAP, still a tough racket putting out games. There's very low switching costs. The attention span of players run out in minutes. The players are becoming more sophisticated and demanding in terms of the content that you're creating. There's a need to engage immediately, and if they don't play, they can't pay, so they're gone. So really, that gets us to player-centric monetization. What we mean by that is taking the opportunity to generate revenue on every single install. So somewhere out there, your averages for IAP might be in the 1 to 2 to 3% conversion. I don't know what you're running in terms of ads, but what we see is most publishers really monetizing a fraction of those players. Player-centric monetization is about taking that opportunity to monetize all of them, but in a smart way, in a dynamic way, so that you maintain the integrity of the game. The player is happy, the player has a positive experience, but you're triggering the right IAP and the right offers every day, all day. So a couple of the foundations tied to player-centric monetization. One is setting key monetization points in the game, so knowing where you want to either trigger an IAP or an ad. Using your user segments, so your cohorts, your player segments, looking at player behavior and then triggering the right IAP or offer. And that could be anything from looking at currency balances, knowing what they last purchased, knowing what level they're at, and then putting that right offer in front of them at the right time. So really delivering offers and measuring those offers. How well did they convert? Are you able to trigger an upsell offer because someone responded to a conversion offer? And really thinking about getting the appropriate offer in front of the players in the right moment of the game. So not the same place for everyone, but really for the right players at the right time. And then finally measuring and optimizing. So really getting a good feel for what's working, what's not working, and where you can continue to drive performance. So when your players don't feel good about what they're experiencing in your game, they leave. This is about keeping them there and figuring out what they need when they need it before they realize they need it. Typical monetization points in the game. We often get asked, where do I put ads? Where do I put IAP? We like to think of them in terms of zones and figuring out the appropriate place in the game to put something of value in that player's hands. These are some examples. So, you're leveling up, or you're completed a session, or you started a session. There's all kinds of different places to present that ad or that IAP. And then we get into player segments. So within each of those places where you're going to run an ad or an IP, you want to be able to deliver that to the appropriate segments. Segments can come in all shapes and forms. We often see at a very basic level, publishers and developers segmenting non-spenders and spenders. What we like to do is get a little bit richer around that. So looking at people who have made their first purchase, people who have made multiple purchases, people who have spent less than $10, they're sitting on level 5, and they've just completed a session. So really thinking through all those different segments in a much richer way, and then putting the appropriate offer in front of them. That gets us to player-centric live ops. And so by live ops, we mean that you've put out your game and you're continuing to model user flow as you go. So continuing to really look at those segments, digging down, always coming up with new segments, testing those, and figuring out what's going to drive the most revenue. So when we look at this, we look at your players come into the game, they get through the tutorial, that's good. Once they're through the tutorial, you want to be putting a conversion offer in front of them. Okay? It often takes a number of conversion offers before they convert. We tend to give up after one and throw in the towel and think, well, we tried to convert them, they didn't convert, so we're done. You're not done. You need to put another conversion offer in front of them. If they respond to the conversion offer, now you're into an upsell cycle. And depending on what they bought the first time, now you want to trigger your next offers. And those you might break down into minnows, dolphins, and whales. And what that means in each of your games is going to be different. But really determining what the appropriate criteria is to match that criteria and that player behavior with the right offer. If they don't respond to your conversion offers, you want to put them into a rewarded track. And we do this because the first and foremost, it gives the player the opportunity to have some kind of exchange with you. They watch an ad, they get a reward. And from the very brief case I showed before, when they get a reward, they often stay in the game longer and spend more. So let's put a rewarded offer in front of them. If they respond to that rewarded offer, let's put them back into that conversion cycle. Let's get them to start spending money now. They've probably progressed further into the game. They're going to need to make a purchase, so put another conversion offer in front of them. If they respond to that, great, they're back into our upsell cycle. If they didn't respond to that, you might put them back in a rewarded cycle. And finally, you can put them into a non-payer cycle. So they haven't spent any money. You've given every opportunity to monetize them with IAP. They're not spending. Put them into this cycle and just serve them regular ads. Now, we have worked with a lot of great publishers. We often get asked, when should I do that? When should I turn on non-rewarded ads? How do I know that they're a non-paying player? Should I turn that on in 3 weeks? Should I turn that on in a week, a day? What does it mean? Well, honestly, it should be developed this way right at the outset. Because for me, I might get through that entire cycle in 1 day. Oliver might get through that entire cycle in 1 week. But if you don't set up this cycle at the outset to capture all the players as they flow through that player experience, you're missing out on that opportunity to monetize. And what this means is you're missing out on the top opportunity to generate more revenue. So we looked at a lot of games in our network. The results here are really about a variety of games to be able to look at how can we create more revenue. What we've learned through a live ops approach is we can generate 5 times more revenue by activating that cycle. So it's average game, million downloads, 1.4% paying players, ARPU of $12, IP revenue of $168, ad revenue of $50,000, total revenue for the game, $218,000. So what does it look like when we apply a live ops approach with player-centric offers and IAP? Well, first off, we can increase conversion. So conversion goes from 1.4 to 2.8%. And with upsell offers, so now we get them into that dolphin, minnow, and whale cycle, now their ARPU increases as well. Next, we get into a total look at the IAP revenue. We've grown that from 168,000 to 840. That's a sweeping change. We didn't change the experience for the players. The only thing we did is put the right offers in front of them at the right points in the game. Then we look at ad revenue. In this case, we've activated rewarded ads, regular ads, but we've shown them at the right times as well. We didn't wait 3 weeks to turn ads on, or 3 months in some cases. We're turning them on right away, we're optimizing, and we're targeting. So we're getting the right kinds of ads in front of these players that are appropriate and relevant to them. Where does that get us? It gets us over $1 million in revenue. So you see the sweeping changes between a live ops approach, and it's not that it's wrong not to take a live ops approach, but if you're taking a passive approach, fundamentally you're leaving a ton of revenue on the table. So, player-centric monetization, 3 keys to take away: really knowing your players, so get to know their behavior, understand the relevant points in the game where it makes sense to put offers in front of them, and create dynamic offers. So don't be thinking about setting up a sale for the weekend or a sale for a holiday period. Think about that individual player's behavior and how those segments are going to respond to different offers at the right time. And then get into that offer cycle. So get that cycle right, from conversion to upsell to rewarded to non-rewarded ads. And I wish you luck. Thank you.
Yeah, I told you at the beginning you would get a lot out of this. So questions, please fire them.
Elizabeth.
Hi.
So one question I had in terms of the ads, you showed the people seeing ads and and their higher metrics, but almost everything correlates positively with engagement. So more engaged players are more likely to do the ads and therefore more likely to spend. So have you A/B tested the showing the offers versus not and seen that same revenue lift?
Yeah, absolutely. Really big proponents of A/B testing. To get to this kind of live ops really drives out of a soft launch, and a soft launch is where we'd really drill down into the segments and test both retention as well as conversion. And so, yes, we definitely want to be, I think, both for rewarded ads and non-rewarded, making sure you've exhausted that IAP conversion cycle before you get into the ads. Yeah.
How long did it take to implement the improvements? Because from my experience, it takes a lot of development time to get all these stuff into the game, actually.
I'm glad you asked. To set this kind of system up, and there's a number of different systems you could use. I'll speak to our system because it's the one I know the most. There are about 4 or 5 calls that need to be made, and the rest is done through a dashboard. And so I think one of the limitations that we've experienced, we certainly saw it as a publisher, is that every time you need to get a development team to be able to implement this kind of work, it takes cycles. And sometimes when that game is out, the team has moved on to the next game, or they're working on a big update, and it's really hard to get the time to do it. In our version of the platform, and again, it's a free platform, but those tools are all in a dashboard, so you can set up the offers, the segmentation, everything once in real time as you go, and test different offers, test the ability to upsell different players at different points in the game. You'd have to create the zones where you'd call for an ad or deliver an offer, but once the setup is done, which is relatively swift, everything else is done dashboard side. Yeah.
And that's actually really, really cool, because I mean, you try all these things, special offers here, there, you A/B test, but you very often you kind of start this approach with hard coding certain things, and then you realize, maybe it wasn't exactly the right thing. So something that is entirely dynamic actually, allows you to, at the end of the day, do anything in that kind of spot. You just have to kind of figure out what is probably the best and where if you use this dolphin, minion, whale approach, you know, where is the segment? I mean, that's really key. And to define these segments, if you do that yourself in a hard-coded, so to say, way, it's a lot of development work, and you don't want to do that necessarily. But I have one question, unless you guys also... There is another one. I knew it.
Okay. How do we make money? Okay, it's a good question. So we take, within the platform, on the ad side, we have something that's, it's a product called Ad Rally. What Ad Rally is, it's an aggregation of 30 plus ad networks, exchanges, demand side partners, all rolled into the system. You're welcome to turn it off. We find most publishers don't turn it off. They use it, and also with the mediation platform, they add in other networks they like to work with to be able to maximize fill and ad revenue. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, the value proposition for our partners is we help you make more money. We don't take any piece of the IAP revenue, but we take our piece on the ads. So it's ad supported, but the value proposition would be publisher makes more.
Yeah, but the ad I mean, the mediation platforms also make their cut. I mean, it's fine. But you know, if you I mean, we had the discussions around ad mediation earlier on. It's still a lot of work. So I mean, if you have a solution where, as a developer, you can actually continue to develop games and actually create great user experiences, rather than focusing on, okay, what's the floor price in this country for that ad space, etc. It sounds quite interesting, I think. Anyway, any other questions? Okay, then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.